Do you really believe you are free? If missing one paycheck would collapse your entire life, think about that carefully. If your income stops for 3 months, what happens to your house, your car, your lifestyle? We say we live in free societies, but most people cannot say no, and the inability to say no is where control begins. Debt is not just money. It is leverage over your future behavior. Most people never question this. They think debt is normal. They think it is just part of adulthood. Student loans, car payments, mortgages, credit cards, buy now, pay later. It sounds harmless. It sounds convenient, but let me be honest with you. When you owe, your decisions change. You wake up earlier. You tolerate more. You negotiate less. Not because you are weak, but because risk becomes expensive. And this is where the illusion starts. You believe you are choosing your job, but your payments are choosing for you. You believe you are staying for stability, but stability for who? If you had zero debt today, would you still accept the same treatment? Would you still silence your opinion in meetings? Would you still stay in that environment? This is not about being dramatic. This is about patterns. Debt reduces optionality, and optionality is power. When you have options, you can walk away. When you cannot walk away, you adapt. You call it responsibility. But sometimes it is controlled dependency. Here is what most people never notice. Debt trains obedience quietly, not with force, with obligation. If you owe a bank for 20 or 30 years, you are less likely to take bold risks, less likely to challenge authority, less likely to disrupt your income source, because instability threatens survival. And survival pressure narrows your thinking. This is where it becomes psychological. Your brain under financial pressure focuses on short-term security. Next payment, next month, next cycle. Long-term vision shrinks, creativity shrinks, courage shrinks, and slowly, your life becomes maintenance. You are not building. You are sustaining. There is another layer. Modern economies grow through consumption. Consumption grows through credit. So access to debt becomes easy. Instant approval. Invisible transactions. One-click purchases. You do not feel the full weight immediately. You feel the reward now, the cost later. And delayed pain is easier to ignore. You are not supposed to question that design. Let me slow this down. Debt is not slavery because you owe money. It becomes slavery when it removes your ability to say no. When you cannot leave. When you cannot pause. When you cannot experiment. When you cannot think independently because your margin is zero. And margin is the key word. Margin is breathing space. Margin is psychological calm. Margin is power. Most people have income, but no margin, so they are always one event away from panic, one crisis away from collapse. And that changes behavior. If this feels uncomfortable, good, because now you are not just thinking about money. You are thinking about control. Tell me something honestly. Are you building wealth, or are you building obligations? Look at your monthly fixed costs. Look at your long-term commitments. Do they increase your freedom or reduce it? This is the tension most people feel but cannot explain. They are earning more than ever, but they feel more trapped than ever. And that contradiction is not accidental. It is structural. Debt converts future time into present consumption. You trade flexibility for comfort. You trade mobility for status. You trade optionality for approval. And the system calls this progress. But progress without freedom is just a more expensive cage. Pause here. Ask yourself quietly, if everything stopped tomorrow, would you still be free? Now let's go deeper, because the real trap is not the payment, it is the identity built around it. You don't just finance a house. You finance an image. You don't just finance a car. You finance status. You don't just finance a lifestyle. You finance validation, and once your identity is attached to what you owe, letting go feels like losing yourself. This is where it becomes invisible. You defend the very structure that limits you, because it proves you are doing well. Most people never notice this. They think they are afraid of losing money, but often they are afraid of losing appearance, and appearance is expensive. Now add social comparison. You open your phone. You see upgrades, better homes, better vacations, better everything. Your baseline shifts quietly. What was luxury becomes normal. What was enough becomes average. Average starts to feel like failure, and this is where it gets dangerous. because now debt is not about survival. It is about keeping up. Keeping up with friends, with coworkers, with strangers online, and when your spending is driven by comparison, your freedom decreases without you realizing it. Let me be honest with you. A system built on growth needs dissatisfaction. If you are content, you do not upgrade. If you do not upgrade, you do not borrow. If you do not borrow, expansion slows. So the environment constantly reminds you that you are behind. Not directly, subtly, through advertising, through metrics, through curated lives, and slowly, you internalize the pressure. You think it is ambition, but sometimes it is engineered insecurity. Here is another layer. Debt shapes personality. When your expenses are high, your risk tolerance drops. You choose safety over truth, predictability over purpose, income over meaning, because deviation becomes dangerous. If your life requires constant cash flow, courage becomes expensive. Ask yourself something uncomfortable. When was the last time you made a bold decision without calculating how it would affect your payments? Exactly. This is how control works in modern form. No chains, no visible force, just obligation, long-term obligation. But let's be precise. Debt itself is not evil. Strategic debt can build assets. Assets can generate leverage. Leverage can create freedom. The difference is awareness. Are you borrowing to build or borrowing to appear? Are you increasing assets or increasing lifestyle? That question changes everything. And now comes the important part. It's not entirely your fault. You were trained inside this model. You were taught how to qualify for credit, not how to minimize dependency. You were taught how to increase income, not how to decrease need. But once you see the pattern, responsibility becomes yours. So what can you do? First, separate identity from consumption. You are not your house. You are not your car. You are not your monthly payment. Second, measure freedom differently, not by what you can buy, but by what you can refuse. Can you refuse a toxic environment? Can you refuse pressure? Can you refuse upgrades? Third, build margin intentionally, even small. 1 month of expenses saved, then 2, then 3. Margin reduces fear. Reduced fear increases clarity. Clarity improves decisions. Fourth, ask a new question before any commitment. Not, can I afford the monthly payment, but what will this cost my freedom? That question filters everything. Let me slow this down. Debt becomes slavery when it removes optionality. Optionality is the real wealth. Money is a tool. Optionality is power, and power is the ability to choose without panic. So here is the final reflection. Are you designing a life that expands your options, or one that locks you into maintenance? Are you increasing income, or increasing dependency? Because in the end, freedom is not about how much you earn. It is about how little you need to remain independent. Think about that carefully. And if this made you see something differently, share your perspective below. What part of your life feels like obligation instead of choice? Let's have that conversation openly, because awareness is the first step out of invisible chains.